Slideshow. Recorded live.
Good evening. Welcome to the July 29th, 2017 edition of Daily Talk. Researcher 135 Community Call with your host, Rich Bernardo. Tonight we are going to have an e-commerce show. We've had many in the past, and I've had frequent guests in the past discussing e-commerce. I've discussed it many times myself, and tonight our guest is going to be David Pearson, the founder and creator of ToucanDeal.com. But while we're waiting for David Pearson to arrive, I want to welcome my friend from Tampa, Florida, Dan Patrick. Good evening, Dan Patrick.
Hi, Rich. How you doing? Good evening to you.
I'm doing great. How are you doing? How's the sunny state of Florida?
Oh, pretty good. It's been rainy all summer, actually. We've had rain almost every day. It's been kind of annoying, to say the least. But that's what you get when you live in a subtropic environment. And
absolutely. With the Gulf on one side and the Atlantic Ocean on the other, absolutely.
Yeah, but I wouldn't change places for any of the money in the world. So I really like it here. I'm really happy.
Well,
so,
that's fantastic.
Can't complain. Yeah, absolutely. How are you over there in Texas?
Oh, it's hot and humid here, too. Not as humid, perhaps, as in Florida, but, boy, we're feeling the heat for sure.
If I remember last we spoke, there were tornadoes that kept on cutting us out off and on all night long, and I think I carried the show for like 30 minutes, not even knowing that you had been shut down from we got another caller.
Dan, you can carry any show, and let me welcome our guest tonight, David Pearson from Nevada. Good evening, David.
Morning, Rich. How you doing?
Doing fantastic. We have Dan Patrick on the line, also from Tampa, Florida. He's been on many shows, and he is an e-commerce professor, and he does buy and sell online. So I'd like to ask our first question of you, David Pearson. Tell us, what is ToucanDeal.com? Tell us about it.
Well, ToucanDeal.com was started because we were sellers on eBay and Amazon for a number of years, and we were tired of getting the runaround and getting controlled and getting money held and getting restricted, and just it was too much stress. There was too much too much pressure to ship next day, or we were cheating on days, and I say, this is just ridiculous. I don't have a family life, and I don't have any time to myself because I'm looking at emails, responding to people at 10 or 11 o'clock at night and Sundays, and I said, this is ridiculous. So there's got to be a better way. And I started doing some looking around, and turns out there really wasn't a better way. And there was a lot of people that I was reading similar situations to mine, and some many much worse than my situation, with their what happened to them. And the most common response that I heard was, why is there not another alternative? Why is there not another place to sell? It's like, this is it. And I was like, you know what, you're right. There should be another place to sell. And so I started gathering all my complaints, my personal complaints. Anytime something went wrong with someone tried to scam me out of free products and stuff, and then the money was just taken out of my account, and they're like, here you go. They're always catering to the buyers. I was like, that's wrong. As much money as I was giving to them, I mean, it was about $75,000 a year towards the end in fees that I was paying to that was to Amazon at the end. And someone would file a false claim for $35, and they just yanked it out of my bank account. No questions asked. They're like, nope, you're responsible. Not, so it just got really old really quick.
Well, David, tell us, how is Toucan Deal different from other marketplaces like Amazon and eBay? What are you doing there that's different?
Well, we don't control the sellers. We don't, when something, a transaction happens, a complaint happens, we try to direct people to deal with the seller directly. They say, this buyer didn't send me the stuff. I was like, well, did you contact them? And they're like, well, no, not yet. And they're like, well, let's start with that. And, and I send them an email at the same time. Hey, this buyer's trying to get a hold of you, just making sure that you got the message, or if I have a phone number, then I'll call them as a courtesy. But I try not to get involved in that aspect because, if you have a retail store, and someone has a complaint, they're not going to go to the, business licensing. They're not going to go to the newspaper. They're going to go directly to the store and they're going to say, hey, this item is broken, and then the store deals with it. That's the way it should be. That's the biggest differences. And not putting limitations, not putting, controlling, when people ship and when people, and the limitations on how much they can sell. That's not our business to say. If you have 10,000 items from day one, hey, knock yourself out. That's great. List them and sell them. I'm not going to say, well, I'm sorry, you're a new seller, so until we see that you ship your stuff, then, we're only going to let you sell 50 items. That's ridiculous.
It's insanity, and that's one of the big problems with eBay, trying to micromanage the seller and put seller limits on the seller. And I think you ran into that kind of thing too, haven't you, Dan Patrick?
Oh yeah, and like David, I read lots of horror stories, and it seems to just continue on. They beat up if they can find a constructive way to beat up on the seller, they find it. I mean, just when you think, and David, you probably can relate to this, just when you think you have all the bases covered, like you've made your mistakes, first couple of months, so and things are going smooth. Somebody comes up with a new twist on something to screw you out of something on eBay. That was my experience on eBay. I also worked with a perfume outlet that did a lot of business on Amazon. It sounds like you did really well on Amazon, David. If you're giving them $75,000 a year in fees, you weren't small potatoes by any means. And we had a better experience on Amazon than we did eBay. It didn't seem like they're always out to I would like to say headhunting. It seems like eBay goes out of the way to find problems with the seller, as opposed to, the buyer's always right, of course, but they're also looking. I got lots of weird messages. Well, you can't sell this, and it's like, well, why not? There's like 20,000 listings of this particular item. This violates our. And they send you a link, and you're like, why are these other people getting away with? Well, why are they selling this product and I can't? And, lots of weird stuff and lots of strange things coming from anonymous buyers. And I've got a friend now. He's going. I warned him, before he got into the eBay selling thing, and he's all stressed out. And that's another point David made. A lot of stress. You don't know. It got to the point where I dreaded waking up in the morning and reading the emails from eBay, because I just knew somebody in there was going to come up with a scam to try to get $5 or $10 back for some item that, this kind of thing. And it just got old. It really is a stressful experience, to say the least.
Absolutely, yeah. Dan. David,
well,
go ahead, David.
We wanted to have, if someone's paying us $75,000 in fees, and a buyer comes up and says, hey, I never got my item, and the seller says, well, it says it was delivered, and and then they say, oh, it wasn't delivered, and they file a claim. Then, as a courtesy, so the buyer thinks that we're catering to them, I would have no problem with refunding them the $30 or $50 or whatever. I say, here you go. Sorry you had a bad experience. I hope that this fixes things. But I'm not going to take it from the seller, because things do happen. I know that you ship stuff and the post office loses it, delivered across the street or whatever happened. Maybe the buyer's lying about it, but out of the $75,000 I'm getting, that's a drop in the bucket. And I'm more than happy to say, here you go. But I'm also going to put a little mark on their account and say, this buyer filed a claim, didn't really look too legitimate, but we paid it. They're taken care of. The seller's happy. The buyer's happy. The buyer's going to come back because they're going to say, "Wow, I got my stuff. They take care of me when something goes wrong." But then the seller's going to be like, "Wow, they take care of me when something goes wrong." It's not always going to be like that. But if we had this buyer that's going through and doing that over and over again, then we're not going to welcome them, because we're not taking the money from the sellers. We're not going to welcome them to stay. We say, you know what, there's other sites that, where you can take your business, and they'll be glad to have you.
Yeah,
David,
that's good. It's refreshing to hear that. Yeah.
and another thing, David, that I noticed is that you are incentivizing shoppers, that you actually have a cashback program. Talk about that. How does the cashback work?
That's correct. Yeah. So I actually got the idea from Costco. We're Costco members, and we pay, I think it's $55 a year for for our membership, and everything we buy there, we get 2% cash back. So at the end of the year, we get about $250 back from Costco. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. I mean, I make my membership. We don't have membership fees on Toucan Deal, but the selling fees are 10%, but we give back 2% out of that immediately. And that's kind of like, hey, there's a little savings account. Here's a little something back for you. And it kind of makes people think, well, I could buy it here for the same price, or I could buy it here and I just put 2% in my pocket. So, just hoping that people like that idea. I know I do.
I think it's fantastic. Tell us, how did you come up with the name Toucan Deal, David?
Well, my wife actually came up with that. I can't take any credit for that one, but it just, as soon as she told me that name, I was like, that's it. There was no question about it. I was like, it's just perfect, because she did some research on what makes a name, what makes a good name, and she said that really a name that has two meanings, like toucan the bird, or toucan like two people can deal, and I was like, perfect. I love it. And it was easy to make a logo for it, and it just seems to fit for what we do.
And I like your use of the toucan bird too for the icon. It gives your a branding to your site that's recognizable all over the internet.
Right.
You've partially answered this already, but I think you may want to elaborate a little on it. Why did you create ToucanDeal.com? Obviously, it was in response to what's going on at eBay and Amazon, but perhaps you could elaborate a little on that.
Well, we actually created our business, online selling business. We started in 2008 part-time, started full-time in March of 2011, and it really took off. We were just going nuts, and I loved working from home. The first couple of years was exciting because it was always growing. And, every year it was like, wow, this year we're going to make $50,000. Our first year we made about $50,000. The second year we made about $85,000. The third year we made about $110,000. The fourth year we made about $125,000. And it was like great. I was like, this is awesome. And I was like, but I don't want to hire people, and then because they don't show up half the time anyways, and then I'm stuck, doing all the extra work, and so, but I love working from home. I think it's cool to just, I wake up, I still had to keep a, good schedule, because sometimes it was really long hours. I averaged about 100 orders a day, and at Christmas time it was sometimes in excess of 300 orders a day. So, I was out working at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was working till 11 o'clock at night, and I was usually in my pajamas the whole time. I had my slippers and my pajamas, and my wife would just make a sandwich and bring it out to me, and that was my life in my garage. And I did like it a lot. And I think it's really neat when people can do that. There's so many people that they want to work from home, but they can't, or they don't have the opportunity. But they really need to have something like that, because they have kids, and they can't afford daycare. You're spending $700 a month in daycare. It takes away most of your paycheck. So a lot of people are searching. It's one of the biggest searches online is work from home jobs. What can I do from home? So if you give them an opportunity to do it and kind of point them in the right direction, hey, you can do this. It's really not that hard. And I could, with my personal experience, I can kind of say, this is what I know about drop shipping. I'm not going to train somebody in the business that I had, because, that wouldn't be very nice to the person I sold my business to. But, but I can, tell people with generalized products, this is what you do. This is how you build it. And it works. It works well.
And I'd like to take a moment, David, to give a shout-out to someone in the chat room who just arrived. It's that girl who's had a lot of e-commerce experience from Johnstown, Pennsylvania, She's also been a frequent guest of mine here on the show and a frequent caller, Becky Glackenbuchko, and she's here. She is going to try to call in, she tells us, but right now she's in chat, and, of course, she's welcome to post a comment or a question in the chat room, and I'll read it on the air. In the meantime, while she's waiting to call in, I would like to ask you, what can someone buy or sell on toucandeal.com? Give us some examples of the kind of merchandise that's available there.
Really, we're not. The only thing we're really limiting is age-restricted items like alcohol, tobacco, stuff like that. You can't sell anything that if it's clearly counterfeit items. We're going to say, hey, no, don't do that. That's kind of a difficult line to stay on because some you don't know if they're real or fake, and so until somebody buys it and says, hey, it's fake, then you have to contact the seller and say, hey, can't sell it anymore. But otherwise, we had a lot of people in the beginning that said, stick with a niche, stick with just one thing, like just antiques or just this. And I don't want to do that. I like giving people the freedom. I don't want to say that you can only sell this. So it's just, that's the only real limitation is just, they have to be legal and they have to be not age-restricted items.
That sounds like a great policy, David, and I'd like to welcome Becky Buchko from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. Good evening, Becky.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hi. Fantastic.
Hello.
Hello.
Our guest
How's
tonight is David
Deal?
Pearson. Go ahead, Becky.
How is Toucan Deal doing? I do tend to list a lot on the internet on various sites. I just haven't done anything on yours yet, so I'm actually called in to see how it's going and check and see what's up with you.
Oh, well, I'm glad you did. It's going very well for where it is. I mean, we've only been online for about 2 years now, and when we first opened for business, letting people list, it was just use it as you will, no listing fees, no selling fees, no anything. Just list it, share it, and have fun. Give me some ideas. What's working? Help me. If something you find a bug or something, let me know, and we'll get that fixed first. But it's been a matter of trying to get features. We don't even have the feedback set up yet, and we can add feedback for people manually. If they give me the eBay store name or something, I can put a feedback score in. But as far as people writing a comment, we don't have that yet because we're doing that a little bit different too. We saw lots of options for basically an auction in a box when we started it, where you just get this kit for $500 and it's got your startup auction thing. But we didn't want that because there's so many things that we wanted that wouldn't work with that system. So we just basically started from a blank screen. So it's growing a lot. We have everything that all U.S. listed items or U.S. sellers items are automatically sent to Google Shopping, and we get quite a bit of traffic from that. Some sellers put cards in their eBay orders, and they get quite a bit of sales on their store. And there's some sellers that don't get any sales. And when I look at their store, I usually can tell why. They don't have stuff listed in categories. They haven't, cleaned up a little bit per se. There's, when you import items, it's kind of like a moving truck taking your furniture to a new store. It'll get it there, but you kind of have to rearrange a little bit. You kind of have to clean things up, and it doesn't fit. Our page is not the same as eBay, so it's not going to look the same as eBay. So some people list stuff, they import stuff, and they don't even come back to Toucan Deal unless there's a sale. So.
Oh, that's good. What is your URL?
toucandeal.com. TOUCANDEAL.
Okay. I mean, I have 100 items listed live on Mercari, and the same listed on Vinted. I'm trying different sites. Mostly what I have now are books, a lot of metaphysical and paranormal books, and a lot of costume jewelry. So
okay.
I'm trying to check and see what they did. I did a test for Rich before, checking out 5 or 6 sites, and found a lot of interesting stuff. It's just so hard making money online, in online sales.